It's Jessica DaMassa with WTF Health. With me right now, I have the CEO of Therapeutics. This is David Klein. David, pleasure to have you with us.
Hey Jessica, thanks for having me.
All right, so before we go any further, for those who are not familiar with Click, tell us what you guys do. You're actually one of the more preeminent digital therapeutics companies, but in what area?
Sure, well that's a nice way to put it. I think we have our heads down and don't really think of it like that. But so we're developing software as prescription medical treatment. So really with the idea that actual apps that are FDA cleared or cleared through other regulatory agencies can be treatments for certain diseases, and that physicians will prescribe these apps, payers will reimburse for them, and we prove that they work in similar trials to like a drug.
So you guys got your start, if I'm not mistaken, doing smoking cessation programs, and now you have expanded to it's like a digital pharmacy portfolio of different kinds of therapeutics. So tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So we started with smoking cessation. We have a fully commercial program called Clicatine. We're actually partnered with the largest behavioral health insurance firm in the U.S. called Magellan Health on that program, and have then built our platform out to a wide variety of different disease areas. We have a pretty advanced program for the treatment of major depressive disorder in adults. That's actually ramping up for a pivotal study. We've partnered that with a company called Otsuka Pharmaceuticals, who's our worldwide partner on the program.
So I think of you guys as probably one of the most typical digital therapeutics, the way I initially learned about the category, where you're very heavily engaged with pharma companies in order to bring your product to market. Talk a little bit about that as far as your business model is concerned, so that others that may not be so familiar with this can understand.
Sure. I think, it's such a nascent space. Everyone's trying to figure out how to be successful here. We're not really married to one business model. We are partnered with pharma in some respects. I mean, certainly our depression program, it's been publicly announced, is in a global partnership with Otsuka, in really what's more of a biotech-like deal from the actual deal structure. And I think, look, it's going to be a relatively heavy lift trying to kind of socialize this new world of different medical treatments. And having a pharma partner who's strong, who's devoted, who has obviously much more resources than a startup, I think has been a great thing. Ultimately, I think we're certainly not going to partner all of our assets with pharma, and we'll probably look to commercialize some of them ourselves. So,
as far as the barriers for integrating digital therapeutics like yours into the regular care delivery process, tell me a little bit about some of the challenges that you're encountering right now. Is it mostly, are people looking at you like we need more clinical studies so that we understand the efficacy? Is it about reimbursement and figuring out the model there? Explain this, give us a state of play.
Sure. I think, we were first founded in 2012 and actually created the term digital therapeutics then. And in 2012, it was much different than where we are today. I mean, people, literally thought we were crazy. It was a, very narrowly accepted kind of fact that you could drive clinical and ultimately economic outcomes with apps, right? I think if you fast forward to today, the tide has changed a bit and it's much more favorable. I think you have to really look at this space, at least we do, from a very kind of biotech-like lens. So we're not just, running studies and then getting FDA clearance and, hoping for reimbursement. I mean, we're involved with the payers very early on and actually working with payers and getting advice on exactly how to design our registration trials. So I think that's critical here. I mean, too many people are involving payers on the later stage. Hey, we have this product, why don't you pay for it? As opposed to, this is the study we're thinking about running. What do you think of these endpoints? Would you reimburse for it? How much would you reimburse for it? So I think, thinking more like a traditional therapeutics executive, but being nimble and agile like a software company and really understanding medical device regulations is probably key to succeeding here. And when we succeed, you'll be the first to know.
Oh, hey, great. I think you're already doing pretty well, so it's good to talk to you even now. I wanted to ask, though, one of the things that you just said was about how you guys kind of, maybe not coined the term digital therapeutics, but we're definitely one of the first that were in this space. how have you felt about the way the category has expanded? Because it's become murky waters, and now it's starting to clear up again, thanks to some of the work by the Digital Therapeutics Alliance, kind of putting some lines in the sand in the market. What are your thoughts about how the category's evolved?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually did coin the term.
Did you? I wasn't sure. I didn't want to put that in your mouth.
In a 2012, actually tried to trademark it. It's a matter of public record. That was ultimately not successful.
Hopefully you bought the URL.
Yeah, we think that these industry organizations are great, and it's incredible to see the work they're doing, and really trying to define digital therapeutics and digital medicine. They just came out with a new kind of guide yesterday. So I think it's very, very helpful. For us, it's really not that complex, right? A digital therapeutic is software that's a treatment, right? It's actually pretty simple. But certainly, we're not very kind of PR oriented, or we don't really engage in those kind of things that much. So having these industry organizations that really advocate for the space and really help define it, I think it's a very, very positive thing. So.
All right, tell us about Click, the business. What's going on over there? Are you guys raising? I mean, you're very well funded, but I mean, you can always use more. So give us a sense of where you guys are at right now. How many people are you? Where are you located? All that stuff.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're actually located in a Soho, so Lower Manhattan in New York City. We have I think now about 48 full-time employees, a mix really of clinicians, scientists, software engineers, product developers, data scientists, and some business people. Actually, believe it or not, we are cash flow positive this year, so that's kind of cool.
I love that. That's kind of cool. All your investors out there are like, yeah, it's a little more than kind of cool.
Yeah, so that's a great thing. I think, when you're in that kind of position, it's a great time to raise capital. So we are likely going out and doing what we'll call either Series B or kind of crossover round, whatever that ends up being. But I think we really have a moment in time, in my view, to kind of solidify our leadership position in the space. So we are going to go out and raise capital so that we can kind of progress our own assets through FDA registration instead of fully relying on pharma to fund them all. So.
That's exciting stuff. Thank you so much, David, for stopping by. It's a pleasure to pick your brain, and I'm really excited to learn that you guys coined that phrase, digital therapeutics. I really didn't know. That's awesome. So cool. Thank you so much. I'm Jessica DaMassa with WTF Health. Thank you for joining us.